Hey guys, welcome back to the Xilverous design series. I don't know if you noticed, but this is a slightly different setup than a couple of our early videos, just because I have this audio setup kind of be installed with the whole boom arm and everything like that, and kind of swapped around the webcam. But today's design series, we will be focusing on the YouTube thumbnail artwork that I do for all my videos. I am starting from scratch on this one. Sometimes I had an old template that I was using, but I think for this one we'll start from scratch just so that I have a little bit more of a fresh start for you guys. So what you see on the screen here is my brand that I created. Now let me name my layers brand. So I always say make sure you're labeling your layers correctly in case you need to pass off this work, or even for self-reference it's a little bit easier. So I named it brand. You can see here, excuse me, Xilverous is on there. So when I expand this, I have, my X layer, which is a vector graphic I've imported in. I have my style for my actual logo type. There's duplicate layers with different styles just to create the effect that I need. And the effect I'm looking at is that metallic finish on there. So what we want to do is think about, what the videos are relating to. So in this case, we're going to do cover art for first impressions for Crowfall. So it is the Xilverous Plays series. So I'm going to go ahead and type in plays. And then since we have that done, we can go ahead and move this to wherever we need to. So I'm thinking initially just, there's a nice little kind of gap down here. What if we just stick it down here? Would that work? Right? Now, it plays right now. It works for now, but I don't like how contrasty, how bright it is. So I'm going to dim it a tiny bit here and see if that works. I may change my mind later, but as of right now, I think that looks okay. So the next main thing I want to do is let's add a background image, right? So Crowfall, easy solution is obviously Googling or trying to find source images relating to that. So I'm going to go ahead and look up some Crowfall imagery here. Let's see. I don't need their website here. Let me go Crowfall. Oops. We go looking through some image, and the goal is we're going to try to find some images that are, one, large enough to fit the background, two, provide us enough interest points, focal points, for people to come on and really draw their attention, right? Capture their interest. So you want an interesting composition, right? So you could, here's an example of a piece of artwork, and maybe I'll include a couple just to show you. Now, if I look at the actual thumbnail and I'm seeing this, everything kind of blends together, right? I don't know if I like that composition. We'll see. We're going to use the same technique I've used in my last design series, which is pushing out the actual text here using some type of element. You can choose to use a black, you can choose to have drop shadow effects, you can choose to have some type of glow effect. What I typically prefer to do is I typically prefer to create some type of black element with an effect. And my preferred effect is usually some type of black overlay with that, that has some type of transparency. Now here's this easy solution, right? You do this at 50% and it already has that kind of nice pop to it, some good contrast to that, and that may work. That might be something you like, but I think I'm going to try a gradient overlay. Now with this gradient overlay, what I would like to do is select this style where it goes from black to alpha. I'm going to go ahead and change the angle to 90 degrees because I want it vertically, right? And then we're going to see how that looks. So, I'm sorry, it's black, so it's actually overlaying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to the stroke. basically empties it out, hollows it out, and it provides a stroke. I'm going to disable the stroke. So now we're basically just styling the fill, right? Now when we do this, you can see, now you can see how it fades, and it kind of gives that nice bump. But it fades to 0, which I don't need. I'm going to go ahead and bump this up. So maybe I want it to fade to 40%. That looks good to me. Off the top of my head, that looks, oops, that looks pretty good. Now Xilverous plays, this brand and plays, that's pretty large. So I'm going to find the Crowfall logo. Let me see if I can find the Crowfall logo here. No, I'll put it on here. Yep. So we find the Crowfall logo. Okay. Obviously pretty large. If you're on PC, what tends to happen is you typically have this black area that is not transparent. But if you're on Mac and you copy and paste, a lot of times they'll just get rid of the alpha layer for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna select the wand tool, and since I've selected the black, since the gray is so similar, it's got a very high tolerance. I'm going to change the tolerance to 10, and we'll see it deselect it by hitting Command D. And when I select it again, you can see that it's actually only selecting the black. When I select similar, selects all the black on here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now I have the Crowfall kind of logo. That's one way to do it. I'm going to apply a white color overlay. Let me change it to white. Right, and that's the Crowfall logo in kind of a hacky, kind of choppy kind of way, but it's okay since we're scaling it down. We won't have to look at those raggedy edges. And I think that's good. I think that's sufficient for what we need it for, right? So you can kind of see at a glance, Xilverous plays, Crowfall. You know, maybe I want to bump this down to 75. 85, there we go. And then maybe I want to pop that out even more. I want to add some type of drop shadow to it, just to give it a little bit of extra, being a little extra. So we're going to go ahead and putz with these numbers. All right, bump that out a little bit. There we go. I know you can't really tell, but any, oof, I don't like that. Any little bit helps. I accidentally hit Control Delete fills in, and I accidentally hit that. So see if you can tell me toggling on and off the drop shadow if you pay attention to the text. It's kind of hard to tell right now, but if I go ahead and I, you know, adjust the choke a little bit, I bet you'll be able to see it more. Yeah. So it's just to make sure that the text has got a lot of contrast. Okay. Now I noticed that, you know, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like plays there. So I'm going to go ahead and try out, you know, does plays look pretty good right here? What do we think? In the thumbnail, Xilverous plays, Crowfall. I kind of like it there. So I'm going to reduce the size down to 24 maybe. And see how that looks. Xilverous plays, Crowfall. Okay, cool. Now that we have that, we can kind of see our composition coming along, right? Now I have the Crowfall over here, Crowfall logo there. Maybe I don't want that. I can actually, there's ways to get rid of that, and I'll take a look at that. I haven't decided if I want to even use this asset, this screenshot yet. So what I'm thinking I could do is layer on maybe another character on top. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool. Crowfall. See if there's a character from Crowfall here. Or if there's just a Crowfall Hmm. So there's the ranger. Let me see, what are the other character models here? Ooh, there's this chick in here. Let's see. The druid. Nice clean image, right? Let's see. See if we can cover her up. Now, if I find a good image of her that I like, for instance, like this, where I know I want, you know, a nice big kind of frame here, I'm gonna go ahead and select similar. Tolerance is a little too high there. Let's go tolerance of 5. Let's see if that works. I'm gonna go ahead and delete. All right. And we're gonna move her this way. Maybe have her cover up some of that. So you can kind of see the brand here. What I'm going to do is I need to cover this up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select and isolate this little corner. What I like to use is the stamp tool, and the stamp tool will actually allow us to, let's see, will allow me to select that little bit of area and allow me to essentially stamp over, clone the area. And as long as it's similar, it's going to be very hard to tell in the naked eye, right? We've kind of just blended that out. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Probably clean this up if I really wanted to, but we're not worried about that too much. We're going to darken it anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and convert this to a smart object. That way when I apply some type of, you know, blur filter, you know, Gaussian blur of some sort, it'll kind of give you that hip, you know, that faded kind of background. You see what I mean? So it has kind of that camera focus point, which is pretty neat, you know, does its job. Now, we can also darken it, which is a nice little tip. If you want to create some contrast, pop the background out a little bit, darken it by a few points, and you can kind of already see the thumbnails kind of coming along. Now, you know, I typically like to put Xilverous plays and then whatever title I'm playing. I also like to include like a subtitle, some supplementary text of some sort. So now that we've got the top, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this faded black bar here to the bottom. And we're going to flip the gradient, because right now it's gradient from the top down. And I want it to blend from the bottom up. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse this style. You see how that works? Once I do that, I'm okay. I don't know if I want it that high, right? Maybe I want it a little bit lower. So now we're going to duplicate plays, just because this is a normal type font. And I want to use this, and maybe we'll say something, you know, what did my title for my video say? I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that. It was like Xilverous. What did I have? Xilverous Crowfall First Impressions, I believe is what it was. Yeah. Let's do Crowfall hype, and then first impressions. So I have a couple, right? I have a couple segments, a couple phrases. Crowfall hype and first impressions. Those are two separate. I mean, we can afford to make this a little bit larger, just as a sample. Too large here. Let's go 30. There you go. Crowfall hype, first impressions. Right? Now, I could theoretically just leave that the way it is, but I actually want to bump it up. So this is main text. I want to make this maybe 85. Let's see what it looks like, 85, okay? And let's see what font this is. This is Sitka banner. Wow, subheading. That's nice. Nice text. I like that. Instead of let's justify, let's center it. Let's center it so that we're not worried about it being misaligned. So we're going to go ahead and center this. Crowfall hype, first impressions. So typically I like to break up the phrases by adding a little bit of color if I can. You know, a good color to have is, I typically like using this yellow. You know, it complements the red kind of nicely on my brand. It complements it fairly nicely. So I typically like to do that, but you know, just to be a little bit extra, if we want to be a little bit extra, which is okay if you're trying to create some type of visual contrast, right? When you have the same font weight, it doesn't create the best contrast. Even with the color, it's not the best, but you'll see what I mean. We're going to go ahead and bump this up. Let's see what text bold looks like, okay? So we made that bold. Now look, Crowfall hype, that's in bold. This is in, I think, regular equivalent of some sort, right? Subhead, it's called. But if I really wanted to bump this out even more, I can make this kind of thin. So if I wanted to just say, you know, small. Oh shit. Let's go display. Or just text. Right? Text. You see the style difference? I think that works. But I don't know if I'm feeling this dark on dark bottom banner, like gradient style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a reflected. Now what does reflected mean? It means that if I change this to 0, let's see what that looks like. Oh shit. I forgot. This is at 40%, so let's go 0. Right, that's at 0. So now look at what it does. It's dark in the center and it fades out. You kind of see that? So it creates a nice little kind of faded kind of ribbon effect. Slightly different than the top, just enough to give it kind of that bump. But I think this is okay. I think this is pretty good for our Crowfall video. If you really wanted to be a little bit more extra, we could add a secondary character if we wanted to. I mean, I think the composition looks pretty good right now, but I'm just gonna do it for you guys, just to show you guys what we could do. You know, if I wanted to add the ranger, or let's see, give me an example of who we could add. Templar maybe? Let me find a good Templar image and then I'll add her. I think I saw one earlier. One second. I know there's a Templar image. Here we go. There's no good Templar render. I'm looking for a character render, kind of like the Druid. So it has that kind of in-game character feel. There's a good ranger. We could do a ranger. I feel like I've used a ranger before, though. Let me see if I can find a different one. Give me 1 second. Try to find one for you guys here. Confessor we could do, maybe? Or Centaur. Centaur looks pretty good. Right, how big is this guy? Let's see. Find somebody else here. A little fucking hamster, dude. Oh, here we go. We got the Confessor. Oh no. Never mind, I got the Templar right here. We good. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up a new canvas. Why do I do that? So I can actually get a bigger chunk of the Templar if I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete the exteriors, you know, if I really wanted to. There you go. Now I actually, oh shit, that's pretty crazy. Let's revert back. Okay. Tolerance, let's bump this back up to 30. Too much. 15. Is that too much? I think that is too much. What happened with 5? No, too much. Okay, so let's go with Magic Wand Tool. quick selection tool. That doesn't work. Let's go back to magic wand tool. Bump up the tolerance to 7. Does this work? Oh, that does not work. Okay, let's go tolerance 10. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Now we can obviously deselect certain aspects of her, like this. I'm gonna hit L for the lasso tool, and I'm gonna hold Alt. What that does is that kind of forces, that deselects whatever my previous magic wand tool had selected for me. So I'm going to do the same thing with her shoes. There are obvious areas in her shoes that okay, and then in her glove as well. Make sure I hit that Alt. Okay. And in here. Okay. Okay. What else do we got? Anywhere else? Her hair is gonna look a little wild, but I think that's okay. Her arm looks a little crazy because of the chainmail. So I'm going to just deselect a huge part of that. There we go. Okay, this is crazy too, her leg. Oops. Right. This too. Typically, it's not this much work to actually get character, but this is kind of a good example of sometimes you just got to put in the tedious work to get, get the render that you want. So now when I delete, you can kind of see, yeah, there's still some jagged edges, but here's a cool tip. If you select refine edge, it's just a refine edge, but I'm going to go ahead and modify feather. And I'm gonna just feather the edges a tiny bit. That's a 5-point feather right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and select her, cut her out, and I'm gonna put her behind the druid. See how that looks. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Right? Scale her down a little bit to whatever size we need. And then for this, I'm going to make this a smart object. Convert to smart object here. Let's blur her a little bit. Maybe 1 pixel, right? Maybe not even 1, maybe like half. Maybe it is 1, I don't know. What do we think? Let's do half. Half looks pretty good. We can even darken this. No, we darkened. This is kind of in the background there, you know. We can bump her up if we want to. Center her a little bit more between that. Right? So now you kind of have a pretty good sense of depth if we want. And maybe we don't want to do that. I can save her for the next, you know, impressions and everything like that. But it's pretty good. Pretty good. So we have this, right? So I'm going to save this. I mean, I did 2 Crowfall impression videos. I think this is pretty good for first impressions video. I think the second video is more geared towards like mining, like crafting, some mining and exploration. So maybe I will do like a video of like some, you know, mining nodes or resource nodes or whatever, and it may be like a pick, like just a mining or a resource gathering icon. Do some icons. I typically like to do some icons in here. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm digging that, if I want to do that. Well, Crowfall, I guess we do have this like logo type, but as far as first impression icons go, yeah, don't know. Don't know that I want to do that yet. I think I'll leave it as is. I think that's pretty good. What do you guys think? I think that's pretty good. Crowfall hype, first impressions. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. I think that's pretty good composition. We're gonna save. Oh shit! Didn't mean to save that as my banner, but okay. Let's do Xilverous, YouTube YT, thumbnails. Thumbnail. Okay, so I did save that. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this image. I'm going to save it as a JPEG, so since we don't have any, you know, save for web. Remember, file save for web, or if you want to remember the shortcut, Shift Control Alt S. Save it as a JPEG, and you can see here the size, 91.38K is pretty small, pretty good, but still really good quality. So now we actually have, you know, how we want to name it. So I've been naming mine like, you know, day X, whatever. So I'm going to put CF hyphen first underscore impressions. Just a logical stream name. Is pretty good. So I think we've got that one done. That's pretty much how I've created, you know, let's see how long the video is. About half an hour. So half an hour to create this thing. Obviously, when I'm going through and I want to create a second one, for example, it's not going to take me that long. It's you know, a matter of turning up, you know, hey, I want to do this. And since we did these as smart objects, maybe I want to disable her and I want to enable my Templar and I want to put another image in the background. I can swap that out. Xilverous plays Crowfall. I can leave that there, but Crowfall hype first impressions might change to something like you know, mining and crafting, something like that. You know, it depends on what I want to make that, and maybe the next one will only take me, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes to do, maybe 15, but not half an hour. Take me about half the time to do something like that once I have a template created. Like I said, I created a new template from scratch for you guys, and it took me 30 minutes. Obviously, I'm fairly proficient with Photoshop, but I think it's great if you. It's a good, you know, good tip would be probably create templates that you could reuse if you're, you know, you don't want to sit here all day spending time nitpicking thumbnails for YouTube. But to me, I think thumbnails are fairly important. I mean, that's what people see, right? So you see a lot of these big time streamers, they spend some time making these elaborate thumbnails. Uh, Also, keep in mind that a lot of the major YouTubers, the guys who are partnered, the guys who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of views, those guys have dedicated personnel to make their graphics for them. They have a producer that produces graphics or produces content for them. They have an audio dude. You know, they have like sort of people. I'm just one guy. I'm showing you guys how I do this myself. So, um, yeah, hopefully I provided you guys with some value. And hopefully you guys can utilize some of this advice. Obviously, the only thing you're really going to need with this is Photoshop, access to Google, so internet connection if you can, unless you have, you know, source images or images you already plan on using already downloaded, then you don't necessarily need Google. So, excuse me. This example, I obviously have my own brand. I would recommend you guys do that. If you're thinking about creating content, or if you think about, you know, even needing to create artwork like this, a brand. What do I mean by a brand? A logo that represents you, some type of graphic that represents you as a creator or as a person. It could be your name, it could be anything you really want it to be. So, like my gamer tag is Xilverous, so of course Xilverous is my brand, and I spent some time making that earlier. But yeah. I don't know. Let me know what you guys specifically want to see next. Maybe I'll go through the process of me creating my logo as one. But I think maybe for the next design challenge, I would like to do icon sets. I know I'm streaming on YouTube, but maybe it'll provide you guys some value. Whoever's on Twitch or whatever, I can show you guys how people make icon sets or even just emotes. What the guidelines are for that, or maybe one day I'll do for this YouTube streaming thing, I'll do, you know, a footer for my stream overlay, or I'll do a camera overlay. How do you guys want to do that? If you guys want to import some type of overlay on top of your camera, or you know, you guys want to do some transparent graphics for your overlays, how do you guys do that? Yeah, we could do that too. So I'm open to suggestions. If you guys have suggestions, leave it down in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, going with the flow and everything. So yeah, once again, thanks a lot for swinging by. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you can use some of this information I'm sharing with you. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks.